The world stopped scrolling for a moment in August 2019 to laugh at what seemed like the most absurd headline of the year. Donald Trump, then President of the United States, had reportedly asked his advisors about buying Greenland. The internet erupted with memes and jokes. Late-night hosts created elaborate photo montages showing gilded towers rising above remote Arctic fishing villages. Denmark's prime minister dismissed the idea as ridiculous.
Everyone treated it as just another bizarre political moment, laughed about it, and quickly moved on to the next trending topic.
But in the secure briefing rooms of the Pentagon and the hushed corridors of the State Department, nobody found it funny. Military generals and government geologists understood something the general public didn't. They knew this wasn't a joke or an impulsive whim. It was a calculated geopolitical strategy, a desperate attempt to secure America's future in an increasingly competitive world.
They knew that beneath Greenland's massive ice sheets lay what could be the single most valuable strategic asset on the entire planet.
To understand why the United States would risk international embarrassment and diplomatic fallout over an island of ice and rock, we need to look beneath the surface. We need to see past the stunning glaciers and dramatic fjords and examine the hidden chemistry that powers our modern world. The 21st century isn't built on traditional resources like steel and coal anymore. Instead, it runs on a specific collection of 17 chemical elements known as rare earth elements. Think of these as the essential vitamins of modern industry. You simply cannot manufacture an iPhone without them. Electric vehicle batteries require them. Wind turbines depend on them. And critically, you cannot build advanced military hardware like F-35 fighter jets, Tomahawk cruise missiles, or nuclear submarines without them. For 3 decades, the United States essentially slept while a strategic rival systematically cornered the entire market on these crucial elements. That rival is China. Today, China controls approximately 90% of global rare earth element processing. They have an iron grip on the technology that will define our future. If Beijing decided tomorrow to cut off exports, the American military machine would grind to a halt and Silicon Valley would go dark. This nightmare scenario keeps defense strategists awake at night, constantly searching for solutions. But there is a way out of this trap, and it lies buried deep under southern Greenland's ice in a remote location called Quanafeld. This isolated mountain sits atop what experts believe is the largest deposit of rare earth elements anywhere in the world. It represents the Saudi Arabia of future technology. Whoever controls Greenland essentially controls the thermostat of the global technology market. This is the real reason behind America's interest in purchasing Greenland.
It's not about expanding territory or feeding presidential ego. It's about breaking a dangerous monopoly that threatens Western technological and military superiority.
Greenland's story is often framed as one of extreme isolation. It's the world's largest island, yet its entire population is smaller than the capacity of most major sports stadiums. Just 56,000 people inhabit a landmass 3 times the size of Texas. For centuries, it was dismissed as a frozen wasteland, valuable only for fishing and seal hunting. But geography shapes destiny, and Greenland occupies the most strategically vital intersection on the map. During the Cold War, Greenland served as North America's shield. It sits directly on the shortest path between Moscow and Washington. If the Soviet Union had launched nuclear missiles, they would have flown directly over Greenland. That's precisely why the United States constructed Thule Air Base in the island's far north, a massive installation equipped with sophisticated radar systems designed to detect incoming threats. America has always recognized the island's military value. In fact, President Harry Truman offered Denmark $100 million in gold bars for Greenland back in 1946. He understood that controlling Greenland meant controlling the keys to the North Atlantic. But Greenland's strategic value has fundamentally shifted. In the 20th century, its value came from location. In the 21st century, its value comes from geology. And the catalyst driving this transformation is climate change. As global temperatures rise, the Arctic heats up twice as fast as the rest of the planet. The massive ice sheet covering Greenland for millions of years is retreating, melting at a rate of billions of tons annually. While this represents an environmental catastrophe, for the mining industry, it's like watching a treasure map reveal itself in real time. As ice pulls back, it exposes ancient rock formations that haven't seen sunlight for eons. These rocks are part of a geological anomaly containing mineral concentrations found nowhere else on Earth. Let's examine what's actually inside the rock at Kevinfield. The two most critical elements found there are neodymium and dysprosium. These might sound like abstract scientific terms, but they impact your daily life every time you pick up your smartphone or start your car. Neodymium is essential for creating supermagnets. Before neodymium, magnets were heavy and weak. With neodymium, you can create a coin-sized magnet strong enough to lift a bowling ball. Why does this matter? Because of motors. Every electric motor operates on magnetism. Powerful, lightweight magnets enable powerful, lightweight motors. This is the secret ingredient behind the electric vehicle revolution. You cannot build a Tesla or any high-performance electric car without neodymium magnets. They're also essential for miniaturizing electronics. The vibration motor in your phone, the speakers in your laptop, the hard drive in your computer all depend on these magnets. Then there's dysprosium. Neodymium magnets have one significant flaw. They lose magnetism at high temperatures. If an engine overheats, the magnet fails. Dysprosium is the solution. Add a small amount and the magnet becomes heat-resistant. This is vital for military applications. Missile guidance systems and jet engine turbines operate at extreme temperatures. Without dysprosium, these weapons fail. Currently, the United States relies on China for almost all processed dysprosium. Consider the vulnerability. The U.S. Navy builds ships using components that can only be sourced from its greatest strategic competitor. It's a dependency that makes the oil crises of the 1970s look trivial by comparison. The Chinese government fully understands this leverage. In 1992, Chinese leader Deng Xiaoping famously declared that while the Middle East has oil, China has rare earths. He knew exactly what strategic advantage he was building. For decades, China kept mineral prices artificially low, subsidizing mines and ignoring environmental regulations. This drove American and Australian mines out of business. California's Mountain Pass mine, which once supplied the world with rare earths, shut down because it couldn't compete with Chinese pricing. Once competition was eliminated, China consolidated control. They built processing plants, refineries, and complete supply chains, creating a vertical monopoly. Then they demonstrated what happens when you challenge a monopoly. In 2010, when Japan arrested a Chinese fishing captain after a collision near disputed islands, Beijing didn't send warships. They simply stopped exporting rare earths to Japan. The Japanese industrial machine panicked. Toyota, Nissan, and Honda couldn't build cars. Electronics manufacturers couldn't produce components. Japan's economy was brought to its knees without a single shot fired. Japan released the captain. The lesson was crystal clear.
The rare earth supply chain is a weapon.
This incident awakened the Pentagon. They realized they'd allowed a critical vulnerability to develop and started searching for alternatives in Australia, Vietnam, and Brazil. But none matched the scale and concentration of Kvanefjeld. This site in southern Greenland isn't just rare earth deposits, it contains them in massive quantities that are relatively accessible. Estimates suggest Kvanefjeld alone could meet global demand for decades and break the Chinese monopoly overnight.
But extracting these minerals isn't simply about digging, it's about navigating complex politics. Greenland is a self-governing territory within Denmark's kingdom. The capital handles domestic affairs, while Copenhagen manages foreign policy and defense. However, mineral resources belong to the Greenlandic people. A fierce debate has raged for years about whether to mine Kvanefjeld, centered on one issue: uranium. The rare earth minerals are mixed with uranium and thorium. Extracting rare earths means excavating uranium. For a country with pristine environments and culture based on fishing and hunting, an open-pit uranium mine is terrifying. This internal conflict became a proxy war for global powers. Environmentalists and local Inuit communities feared radioactive contamination of their fjords. The pro-independence faction argued mining was the only path to financial independence from Denmark's annual subsidies of hundreds of millions of dollars. Into this delicate debate stepped the Chinese. A Chinese company bought a stake in the Australian firm holding mining licenses, setting off alarm bells in Washington. It appeared China might replicate their African strategy: buy infrastructure, influence elites, lock up resources. This context explains Trump's offer. It was an awkward signal that America wouldn't let Greenland fall into Beijing's orbit. The State Department opened a consulate in the capital for the first time in decades, offering aid packages and sending high-level delegations. It was a charm offensive designed to counter Chinese influence. But Russia is watching too. As ice melts, new Arctic shipping lanes open.
The northern sea route along Russia's coast cuts travel time between Europe and Asia by 40% compared to the Suez Canal. Russia has been militarizing its Arctic coast, viewing it as their future economic engine.
3 superpowers now circle this island of 56,000 people. The environmental tragedy of melting ice reveals the economic prize of the century. A local population caught in the middle must decide whether to sell their heritage for independence or protect their land while remaining dependent on Denmark. In 2021, Greenland called elections fought entirely on mining. The anti-mining party won decisively, effectively banning uranium mining and killing the Kvanefjeld project in its current form. The United States didn't buy Greenland with a check, but it's buying it with policy, pressure, and presence. The Cold War has returned, and this time it's being fought over the resources that will power our future. The rare earth war isn't coming, it's already here, and the front line runs through the melting ice. Next time you look at your smartphone, remember the connection to those frozen frontiers where the defining conflict of our time unfolds. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss future insights into the hidden forces shaping our world.